Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. It is the exceptional one, Ken McClinton. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican, and then the socialists. Ladies and gentlemen, the link for tonight's show is usstream.tv. Ken McClinton. Let me go over here to the Facebook page so I can put that link into the chat roll. Hope that you're enjoying the jazz. You know, this reminds me of the Charlie Brown. Since we're going into that season, I know I jumped ahead, and I know my wife doesn't like it when I jump ahead of Friday. You know, being it the opening of the holidays. But nonetheless, after spending a week in Tampa, it is good to be home in the very frigid Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a big night. I don't know if we'll have Lonnie with us tonight. Lonnie happens to be in California, IA. Unfortunately, he had a death in the family. We'll see if he wants to come on or not. But also tonight, we will be talking about run, hide, and take down a terrorist without a gun. We're gonna figure out how to do that in Washington. I don't know. Maybe I'm very influential. Maybe the exceptional one has been so influential that the police chief of District of Columbia is coming alongside and kind of figuring that in order to take on gang members, you can't do it with feathers. You can't do it with candles, and you can't do it with flowers. You need a 9 to take on a 9. And hopefully someday the police chief will have our 6. We'll get into all the details of those numbers. But I can't think of a better way to start off a show than the way that we're about to do it now. Ladies and gentlemen, take off your hats. Put your hand over your heart. It is time to say pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Ready, begin.
I'm gonna tell you, if you ever watch this video of the little kids saying it, man, I tell you, the little girl on the end, every time, it just envelops me with great laughter. The little girl on the end is like, I'm not singing Pledge Allegiance. I don't know who these people are. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what better way of saying this, but there has been something earth-shattering in the nation's capital. And some of you all might think, hey, Ken, you're just overreacting here. And let me do some reminiscing. Before I do the reminiscing, I want to thank my beloved, my betrothed, my beautiful wife for having my huge burgers ready for me when I got back from Tampa. Oh, my beautiful wife. Love you. Love you dearly. And thank you for wearing the t-shirt Peaches. Nice t-shirt. It's a beautiful t-shirt. So I thought it was beautiful. I don't know. I don't have great taste. But Mrs. Biggs is watching us via live stream or Ustream, of course. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank my bouncer, Mary Brockman, who is with us tonight in the chat role at SHR Media Live. I want to thank you so much for being here. And all the others. Dean, I wanted to apologize. My wife told me I need to apologize to Dean. Dean was here for Sunday morning's Bible study on time at 7 a.m. Unfortunately, having gotten over the travel from Tampa to Atlanta to D.C. and arriving at Atlanta and finding out that the plane was going to take off 3 hours after my scheduled intent, I was slightly tired, and thus I unfortunately overslept. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's what happened. I overslept, and I really didn't wake up to almost a half hour before having to go to church. So I was even late for church meetings. So the bottom line was I was late, and I apologize. I really do. To Dean, I know that you watch, and I know that you attend, and I prayerfully, Dean, you don't take the offense that I missed Sunday as a reason for not watching. So I apologize to you humbly. I want to thank my bro, Dave Milner. What's up? I love Dave. Dave's the man. I want to thank also God for giving me the opportunity to go down to Tampa last week. I got my skills honed again because I use 3 monitors, 3 computers to deliver this show via Ustream, Livestream, and other posits of radio through SHR Media, through Pundit Press Media, through Reboot Liberty, SHR Media. If I didn't say it before, I'll say it again. iTunes and so many of the others. It has been quite a fascinating thing for me to be able to hone my skills and improve. Actually, this evening I improved. And so I'm really, really looking forward to the future. I wanted to announce tonight, this will be the second time I've announced it, but I want to make it generally clear to everyone. First and foremost, I really enjoy being on Saturdays on WNJC 1360 AM with the program New Day Black and Red with my good friend, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, as we literally have a great time doing that program. And I love Conservative Commando's radio show on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We had some great guests on last week. We will probably do a what do they call it when they play a tape instead of you? Yeah, we're going to go back and do an old show, I suppose. Run, hide, but don't shoot back. That's a nice show. As I scroll down. But I want to thank Rebooting Liberty, Blueberry, Stitcher, SHR Media, Spreaker, the Voice of Liberty. I thank you all so much for bringing me on your programs. Now, I want to say this to everyone. Next year is going to be really, as we enter year number 6, we're going to year number 6, something like that. Things are going to be a little bit more professional. Forgive me. My days of being JV are going to have to end. I'm going to have to go varsity. Kate's basketball team did what? Thank you, Dave. A best of show. We're going to do a best of show on Friday. But and Mary's going to tell us exactly what Kate's basketball team, her granddaughter, does wonderfully during the course of the year. I'll be a little bit more professional. So all of the individual institutions that carry my show right now will be grandfathered in. But all future programs, all future shows well, you have to pay for this content. And I think it's content worthy of being paid for. So, I think so. People asked for it. And it's very influential. Apparently so influential that it's changing the way even the police chief in Washington, D.C. feels about gun control. When we come back after the break, and I want to apologize to Derek Williams. My first trek, my expected trek on Saturday was to go past Infuse Restaurant. That was my intention. Unfortunately, when that plane was 3 hours late, it knocked me off completely. So, but sometime next week we'll be at Infuse Restaurant. So you know what's coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back, and we want to talk about how this show has influenced the police chief of Washington, D.C., in the most liberal city outside of San Francisco. Baby, come on back. We've been good. Real good.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage that they cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, nice half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but you should have been. I don't know why you wait for the commercials. It's not to look at me. Please, this is not the most handsome man on the face of the earth. But that burger, I'm telling you, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. 20748. That's the zip code. Temple Hills, Maryland. They also call it Clinton, so, you know, just in case. But 6339 Allentown Road, 301-449-9000. www.infuse.com. My wife loves the salmon. She also likes the veggie burger, which I think is un-American, but I forgive her. I pray for her daily that she might overcome the tendency to reach for that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It just, beef is one thing. Okay, beef is one thing. We'll be back after Kimberly Classic, The Color of Jesus and Santa Claus, discussed on CNN.
Hello everyone, Kimberly Klasick here, a Politics.com contributor. So I wanted to briefly discuss a clip that was forwarded to me today on Twitter. It was a clip from CNN, and it was an anchor and two guests talking about the color of Jesus and Santa Claus. Like, really? Can we stop already with the color of everything? I mean, yeah, the walls here are purple. Does that affect me? No. I mean, this is getting crazy. And I feel like the mainstream media, liberal news like CNN, they're perpetuating this whole conversation. Why? The color of Santa Claus and the color of Jesus, what does it have to do with you worshiping God and getting some Christmas gifts? Absolutely nothing. The people that talk about this, in my opinion, are weak. Just like we saw at University of Missouri, that whole Mizzou situation with the president stepping down because there were racial incidents on campus. Yes, they should have been addressed. Should a man have stepped down from his position? Absolutely not. It could have been addressed, and it could have been getting media attention so the issue could be addressed, but now he stepped down and there aren't any solutions. There's nothing happening. People are just marching around and protesting, but now what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. So they're wearing these t-shirts that says, I love my blackness. I love that. That's hilarious. Like, to me, when you wear a t-shirt saying, I love my blackness, that shows your low self-esteem. It shows that you are, whether you know it or not, consciously saying you have a problem with your blackness here in America. And you have to wear a t-shirt to show it. I mean, I'm married and I love my husband. Do I wear a t-shirt that says I love my husband? No, it's a given. I'm black. I love that I'm black. I love who I am. It's a given. So we can maybe stop all of these racial conversations that have nothing to do with, one, worshiping God, two, Santa Claus, getting Christmas gifts, and three, who we are. To me, if you continue to talk about race, you're weak. And I will probably call you out for it. Thanks.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man has shaped his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe.
That kind of looks like my sister.
It does.
But I know she's not.
He's cuddling. I can't.
Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh!
She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop.
Oh, that is not a lollipop.
Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. But I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm not type. Hope you're gone in a cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew. None of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger?
Left swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Left swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Left swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Left swipe that.
At a monster truck race?
Left swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Left swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
No, they won't. Ladies and gentlemen, stop smoking. It kills. We are back from the Exceptional Conservative Show. Listen, you look at God has blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in tonight. Yes, I'm going to let it go tonight. Because the bottom line is, since we started doing open heart closed case in Washington, D.C., it has put a lot of people on message. They don't know it, but they're on message. It has put a lot of people on the spot. Yesterday, on 60 Minutes, a woman who said that my daughter died because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, a D.C. citizen. She later went out, she later apologized, saying that Shanice Milton was in the right place at the right time. It's the people who killed her that were not. But nonetheless, that mentality, that victim mentality seemed to be rubbing off of her. Okay? Because the bottom line is you should never have to apologize for a citizen being in the right place. You should always go after the gang members who are making life impossible to live. Just saying. Let's swipe that one, okay? But here goes. She was on 60 Minutes the other night. Yours truly, unfortunately, I was probably doing something else, didn't have an opportunity because I really don't like watching 60 Minutes that much. But it's true. I don't like watching 60 Minutes. I don't care even if Rush Limbaugh was on. I probably wouldn't watch it. It's because it's really one of the most leftist shows on. Meet the Press is right up there with that. So I might as well watch MSNBC. I'm just not going to do it. I don't have the time for it. She was on, and in the 60 Minutes interview, I'm reading Breitbart here. Part of my professionalism is that I am now going to give credence, like I haven't done before, but I am making it a systematic effort so that you know exactly what I'm doing. I'm looking at the D.C. police chief. Why I apologize for being a victim. Thank you, Mary. I'm feeling you. So the police chief is on 60 Minutes. Kathy Lanier, Washington, D.C. And actually, in a few moments, I'm just going to run down a list of gun control cities, and it's going to actually going to show you how racist gun control really is. I just want to make it very clear to you. Gun control is racism on steroids. There's no other way to say it. And she's on. And being on 60 Minutes, you're normally put there because something is really, really wrong. Something's going on. Okay. We've had Mali, the terrorism that went on in Mali, and Boko Haram and Al Qaeda working together along with ISIS, and ISIS doing its own thing in Paris. And I don't think, if you haven't learned from Charlie Hebdo event, you're never going to learn. The young man who's standing there with his son saying, "I'm fearful, I'm frightened, we need to leave this city." And his dad saying, "No, we won't run for the terrorists." And the son looks back at his father and says, "Dad, they have guns." Now, the kid's like 5 or 6 years old. The kid's got common sense. But this is what ideology does. Ideology tells the child that their response to fear is inadequate. That they shouldn't be thinking the way they're thinking, and so they have to be re-educated. Okay? So his father re-educates him while he's on the air. The son rightfully says, since they have weapons of mass destruction, since they have guns, Dad, he's 5 or 6 years old, he's trying, maybe even younger than that, and hopefully some of you all have seen the video that I'm talking about, where the Frenchman is telling his son that, we're not going to run from the terrorists. So the kids tell him, listen, Dad, they got guns. Father responds to him. Now, you would think in this particular moment, he would say something like, Chancellor Merkel, to the German people, they may shoot you with guns, but you shoot them with your values. Okay, that's reasonable. That sounds so reasonable. Or you might do as Paris has done and made certain that no one has the right to carry guns on the street. You can't. They're banned. You gun control countrywide. The little boy looks up at his dad and says, "Hey, they got guns. We need to leave. Run. Maybe hide, Dad, someplace else. Because the gun laws here in France, Dad, you don't have a gun." Dad looks down at the son and says, "We have flowers." Now, isn't that the most ridiculous thing you could possibly say to a little boy? And then the question from the reporter after looking at that beautiful, look at the way that, oh, it's so beautiful. The father has comforted the son and said, "We're not leaving. And do you feel better?" Son looks at him and says, "Yeah, I feel better." But you knew in his eyes, you can look at the kid's eyes, that didn't make sense to me, Dad. I don't see anyone in the grave that died from a flower. I don't remember a rose carrying an M16. I don't remember a howitzer being tied to a tulip. Dad, they got guns. You're going to shoot them with flowers? You're going to shoot them with values? That's how you're going to take them down? Oh, I need a new father. This guy's he's not thinking straight. What's on his... I want to smoke what you smoke, Dad. So, ladies and gentlemen, she is on 60 Minutes on Sunday. And Kathy Lanier happens to be the police chief. And we happen to live in a city with the strictest gun laws in the country. Well, maybe Chicago, maybe. Come on. Maybe Chicago. And you look at their murder rates. Wow. Woo. And this is the advice she gives. Because ISIS is not going to sit there and ask you what your ideology is. Can you recite to us from the socialist dogma? Would you further eloquently elaborate on your ideological position regarding gun control? When that dude has that gun over the top of you, pointed at your head, and he asks you to recite from the Holy Quran, he ain't asking you whether you believe that welfare stimulates an economy. He's not going to ask you if you should have been aborted. All these liberal, ideological, fantastical, utopian ideals, he's not asking you that. He's going to come to you, point the gun at your head, say to you, recite from the Holy Quran. If you cannot recite from the Holy Quran, you are an infidel and you're dead. Those two ladies in France who fell to the ground after there was such shooting and the terrorist came over the top of him, over the top of those two ladies, and was trying to get his gun back. It jammed, trying to get his gun in position to finish her off, or finish the two of those ladies off. And then when he jammed and he couldn't use it anymore, he throws it down and he goes for another gun, and he goes down the street. I did not hear those two ladies say, "Thank God." Because they don't thank God in France. No, couldn't have been God. It had to be my opinion about humankind. Oh, what great luck I have. No, that's God, baby. That's God. You are so blessed. And you don't even know it. Such a little boy being influenced by such an idiot of a father. And now this DC police chief, who has spoken with Muriel Bowser and other council members over the years about taking guns away from citizens, about eliminating guns in the city, especially for law-abiding citizens. I want to play for you real quick, just in case you didn't know. Washington, D.C. is targeting illegal guns. Here we go.
The District of Columbia on Wednesday sharply hiked rewards for seized illegal guns amid an upsurge in killings in the United States Capitol, part of a rise in homicides in many big cities. Washington will pay a $2,500 reward for a tip leading to gun seizures, up from $1,000. Information leading to an arrest and conviction in a shooting earns a reward of $10,000, up from $1,000, Mayor Muriel Bowser and Police Chief Kathy Lanier said in a statement. Our actions are clear. We need to get illegal guns off the street so people aren't put in harm's way, Lanier said. Washington, a city of about 660,000 people, has had 98 homicides so far this year, up 36% from the same time in 2014. Police have seized 944 illegal guns this year, the statement said. Lanier and Bowser have blamed the rise in killings on factors including illegal firearms in the wrong hands, greater use of synthetic drugs, more guns, and repeat violent offenders on the street. Washington's police union has said a shortage of officers was behind the increase. The United States Capitol has some of the country's strictest gun laws, and banned weapons include sawed-off shotguns and machine guns. Firearms also must be registered with police. Washington is among other big United States cities seeing an upturn in violent crime after it fell, starting in the 1990s, to half-century lows in 2013. Big city police chiefs who met in Washington this month to discuss rising crime said homicides in 35 cities were up 19% this year on average. 62% of cities reported increases in non-fatal shootings. Baltimore, about 40 miles, 64 kilometers, from Washington, has recorded 211 homicides for the year, the same as for all of 2014, according to a tally by the Baltimore Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Reuters. Okay? And that was breaking news on August 19th, 2015. There were 98 murders in the District of Columbia at that time period, just in Washington, D.C. They had recovered 944 illegal guns at that time period. To date, 944 illegal guns. In Baltimore, there were 211 homicides at the time of this announcement. Now, Muriel Bowser raised it to $2,500 a tip leading to a gun seizure, up from $1,000, and $10,000 for a reward. Let me explain something to you. From August 19th to the last time I did a show, November 19th, the number of dead people in Washington went from 98 to 148. I'm not lying to you. They went from 98 to 148. 50 more people died over a 3-month span of time. What was it? It was the illegal guns? Well, guns are illegal in the District of Columbia, period. unless you have a concealed carry license. Unfortunately, the person in charge of giving out those concealed carry licenses happens to be the person, Kathy Lanier, who on 60 Minutes says that there should be a run, hide, shoot mentality for citizens, or at least a run, hide, or fight mentality for citizens to take the gunman out in a terrorist situation. The unfortunate thing in the District of Columbia is most citizens, good law-abiding citizens, don't have the access to the fight part of that. You see, in order to be properly fitted for war and combat, either on the jihad that's happening in the neighborhoods by the terrorists known as gang leaders who are using narco or illegal drugs as a remedy for revenue, or whether you're on Syrian war fields fighting ISIS individuals who care nothing about your ideological bent towards the left. Not at all. What they're concerned about, and they're not concerned about you calling 911. Go ahead, call 911. I'm standing right here with a gun in my hand. What the police gonna do? What Popo gonna do? Huh? By the time you call the 9 on the 911, they pop 3 in you. By the time you got to the 1 at the end, you're laying on the ground with blood falling out of you, wondering, where the Popo at? Popo ain't coming for another 24 minutes because that's the amount of time it takes to arrive at the scene of a crime. So, ladies and gentlemen, according to CBS News, Lanier said, and I'm reading from Breitbart here, if you're in a position, and the key word there is if, because if you're a district resident, there will never be an if position for you. There's only one thing going to happen to you. You're going to be dead. Because you can't protect yourself. If you're in a position to try and take the gunman down, to take the gunman out, it's the best option for saving lives before police can get there. She admitted that such advice runs counterintuitive to what police have been saying for decades. But she stressed that the situation has changed. Wait a minute! Now the white female police chief of the District of Columbia, the second strictest gun laws in the world, okay, I'm stretching it there, in the United States of America, behind only Chicago, sounds exactly like the black sheriff who has been noted to be a racist and an Uncle Tom for saying that black people need to protect themselves and they need to have their concealed carry licenses. They need to have their own guns. She sounds exactly like David Clark. David Clark happens to be a great, great icon of those of us on the right. Wait a minute. When do liberals start sounding like they're on the right side? Only when they have run out of excuses of why everything they try to do based on their ideology does not stop crime. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Then we got to go to the break after this. I know. I got to go to way over. But ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you, I'm going to come back tonight. We're talking about gun control and racism. But the bottom line is, if you could protect yourself or wait for the police, which one of those things would you choose first? Only a liberal can look you in the eye and say the latter rather than the first. Only someone who has lived in the ghetto will be able to tell you, I would rather be able to protect myself. Many of you all on the down low listeners have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. But slowly but surely, you're getting the truth. The truth of the matter is, you have fallen for something Malcolm X called you a fool for. You should always be able to protect your family, protect your neighborhood, protect yourself. If you can't do those things, you're not a man. The Exceptional Conservative Show. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here craving infused 6339. I got bad addict. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. 20748. The telephone number 301-449-9000. Listen, tell Derek Williams you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show and you want to check out the best food in town. Yes, infuse.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you know it is that time of the year again. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. We accomplish our mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that we send are for a specific person with their name on the stocking. For many troops, our gift is all they receive for the holidays. We're trying to send a touch of home as well as personal messages of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all they do for us and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. We depend on the generosity of others to help us to accomplish our vital mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. As such, donations are deductible to the extent allowed by law. Please consult your tax professional for more information. If you would like to make a donation to our community project, Stockings for Soldiers Incorporated, Delaware Incorporated, at least, please send your check to Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road. That's F-O-U-L-K Road, 1911 Folk Road, Wilmington, Delaware 19810. They thank you already. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking tonight about the ultimate form of racism in America. Which is propagated. Well, actually, there are two really blatant forms of racism in America. One is abortion. The other one is gun control. And when you think about either one of them, it is a genocidal means of eradicating life. I mean, what better way to say it? I mean, literally, you are determining the fact that you wish to have people die. They can't protect themselves. Babies can't protect themselves in the womb, and you can't protect yourself outside of it. So literally, that's racism. I don't see Black Lives Matter jumping up and down over this one. And they won't, because it doesn't fit their Marxist agenda. The Marxist agenda is that you are less than us. Thus, you must submit yourself to everything that we believe. And if you don't, we'll kill you. Oh, we're not going to actually kill you. And of course they won't. But they'll create the strategies, the laws, and the possibilities for you to have a shortened lifespan. One of those happens to be the racist gun control laws. Now, we are talking about Kathy Lanier. And remember, Kathy Lanier, after I gave my testimony in September before the D.C. City Council, first time they held a public safety hearing in over a year. Okay? So you can tell the City Council is not really concerned about public safety. Not unless they're trying to get $23 million out the door to their buddies and friends who are social workers. Hey, how's that social worker program working, huh? Oh, yeah, only kill 50 more people. Give it a little time. Oh, yeah, it's that work development program. Yeah, you really want to get people off the rolls and into work? Stop raising the minimum wage. Just saying. And stop taxing people at that very low income level. Just saying. And that goes for payroll taxes. No payroll taxes for a certain group of people under the $20,000. You want to get them started? Get them the skill set necessary? Tax free. Just saying. In fact, make it tax free all the way up the board. I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just saying. Lanier said, we always tell people, don't take action. Call 911. Don't intervene in the robbery. We never told people take action, but it's a different scenario. Apparently this is a different scenario, having a person standing over the top of you with the same type of gun as the robber would have, who's telling you that if you can't quote from Mohammedan's book of choice, then you're dead. Oh, but I'm sorry, I'm a racist because I said Mohammedan. I'm a racist. I don't know how a cult of personality known as Mohammedanism makes me racist, but apparently when you run out of things that offend you and how to describe it with words, go to the common ilk. Go racist. Racist always works. There you go. Now, in August of this year, Louisiana Sheriff Jeff Riley urged women to get concealed weapons permits so they could keep a gun with them with which to defend their lives. And on October 2nd, just one day after Upeka, community college gunmen allegedly lined up victims and questioned them about their religion before killing them. Notice how the president has no problem with you lining up Christians and killing them, but keeping Muslims out. Talk about an ultimate religious test here. Anyway, Tennessee Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey urged Christians to get a concealed carry permit in order to defend their lives against religiously motivated attacks. So Chief Lanier is now rounding up into a corner now. She's rounding up into a corner
about bringing people together,
in which individuals are saying it just doesn't make sense for individuals who need to protect their own lives to go into the arena known as public life and to know without a shadow of a doubt, to expressly know without a shadow of a doubt that you're already, everyone knows, the gunman knows, The robber knows, the rapist knows, the thief knows, the ones who are sent here to steal, kill, and destroy, because if you don't try to arrest them, you're aiding and abetting those who steal, kill, and destroy. That's what ideology does. That's what the liberal ideology does. That's what the Obama belief does, which is strictly a racist belief. But if I say that, somehow I'm self-loathing. No, it's racism. It's racism to give the thief, the robber, the rapist, the terrorist the upper hand. So where's all this gun control stuff come from? Where's it all come from? Well, let me explain to you something. People fear the fact that you're able to protect yourself. At least those people who would like to injure you with their verbs and their nouns and their prepositions, and they want to verbally accost you, and they want to do it without the fear of any type of retaliation. They want to say things to your wife in your presence. They want to do things to your wife in your presence, to your children in your presence, that if they knew that you had a concealed carry license, that they probably wouldn't do. It's amazing what the liberal mind detests most. The liberal mind detests one great thing, that it would have to back up with weapon everything they spoke. So if they can't back that up, and they know that they will lose to you in any type of debate, what can they do to protect themselves? Well, they will take away your ability to protect you, your ability to protect your family. Just want to ask you real quick here, ladies. Do you prefer to be with a man that you have to protect? Or do you prefer to be with a man who's willing to protect you? In today's society, where women have abortions on television to the sound of Silent Night, I suppose we have gotten to a period where women feel that they have to defend themselves by any means necessary, even eliminating a child to a hymn sung in observance of the birth of the Messiah. That's racist. You didn't see a white woman doing that. Roll call. July 17, 2014. I want you to hear Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton from D.C. And when we come after this, we come back, we're going to have to go to a break, a 4-minute break. When we come back from that 4-minute break, we'll be starting the second half of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital, where we're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you right now, anytime you vote for someone who's willing to take away the protections of a child in the womb and take away the protection of your child in your home, the true terrorist is not the one that breaks into our country. We expect that. The true terrorist is the one who allows you not to be able to defend yourself against foreign or domestic.
Mr. Massey of Kentucky is not accountable to the residents of the District of Columbia, but he is offering an amendment to effectively wipe out all of the district's gun safety laws now and in the future. This amendment is being offered by a member who claims at every turn to support the principle of local control of local affairs, yet he is using the big foot of the federal government to overturn local laws. While we are still reviewing the full effects of this amendment, it appears to prohibit the district government, including the Metropolitan Police Department, from enforcing almost all the gun laws of the District of Columbia. The D.C. government would not be able to stop a person from carrying, openly or concealed, an assault weapon, including a 50 caliber sniper rifle, with a magazine holding an unlimited number of bullets, on any street and in any building, except, of course, federal buildings like the one where we now stand. Every single federal court that has ruled on the constitutionality of the district's post-Heller gun laws has upheld them, upheld our assault weapons ban, upheld our ban on large capacity ammunition feeding devices, upheld our registration requirements. It's a flagrant abuse of democracy by a member who comes here with a Tea Party principle that says power should be devolved to the local level. He is playing with the lives of the American citizens who are not accountable to him, who live in my city, and he's playing with the lives of the federal officials, visitors from across the country, whom we are charged to defend and protect while they're in our city.
Now, that's Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. I said I was going to go to a break, but I can't resist it. She's supposed to be a constitutional lawyer, okay? She's supposed to be a professor of constitutional law. Well, apparently she hasn't read the Constitution, okay? She hasn't read the Constitution itself. Her assertion that a congressman from another state or a senator from another state has no title authority in terms of introducing regulatory or legislative change to the District of Columbia is false against its own assurances in the Constitution. Let me read for you Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, which is why you probably don't vote. They don't allow you to because you haven't read the Constitution. According to Section 8 of the Constitution, it clearly says that the Congress, under the first article, for those following along with the Vice President of the United States, Biden, Congress has the exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, as may, by secession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, becomes the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislators of the state, in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dock, yards, and other needful buildings, and to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States or any department or officer thereof. According to the Constitution, the U.S. Congress has the right to change the gun laws in the district. Madam, I did not vote for you to protect me with a gavel and a pen, or a pen and a phone. I asked you to uphold the guarantee of the Constitution of a Republican form of government, which allows me to protect my wife and my deceased daughter from the gun violence of this city. We tried it your way, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, and look what it has gotten us. It's time for us to throw away those with a phony sense of understanding of the Constitution, and it's time for us to employ the Constitution in the District of Columbia. When we come back, racism, gun control, in the Second Amendment. You're listening tonight to the Exception Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the unadulterated, unfiltered provision of conservative talk.
It's gonna Colombian right swipe. This man has shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh. You stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe, right swipe.
That kind of looks like my sister.
It does.
But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. Oh my god, I want to eat their faces.
She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop.
Oh, that is not a lollipop.
Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm my type. Hope you're gone in a cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, bye bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. But I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm my type. Hope you're gone in a cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, bye bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew. None of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger?
Left swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Left swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Left swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Left swipe that.
At a monster truck race?
Left swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Left swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
Cigarillo smokers be like, strawberry's a finger, bro. Strawberry never hurt. Tobacco be like,
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the second half of the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. I'm not saying that with great gravitas. People call it arrogance, but it's the truth. We really influence a whole lot of stuff. And hopefully we're influencing you. Listen, we're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republicans, and then to the Democrats, socialists, I like to say. I'm your host, Ken McClinton. And what better way to start off the second half of our program than with the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's take it away, kids.
Ready, begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking it off hardcore tonight. Yes, tonight we've been talking about run, hide, but don't shoot back. This theorem in urban America that somehow, it is wrong for you to protect yourself. And in addition to protecting yourself, your children can't be protected either. Your family can't be protected. Your business can't. You have to wait 24 minutes, the average time, for a police officer to show up in order to get the protection that's required. Now, for most of you who understand, waiting for a police officer to come and get you is like waiting for the block of ice that's been left outside at 100-degree temperature not to melt. It doesn't happen that way, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't. And so I want to be very clear with you that there are those who want this because they're self-loathing. They hate themselves. They're black people that actually hate the fact that they can protect themselves. I know a lot of people say that because I like working with people of a great many hue, a great many values and cultures, well, differing cultures per se than values, but it's because we share values. On the Constitution and things of that particular nature. But they call that self-loathing. They call it self-loathing when a white teacher tells you that I don't care that Martin Luther King's birthday was Monday. On Tuesday there will be an exam. Somehow there must be racial ambiguity. Somehow, white kids don't get exams on the day after George Washington's birthday, so why do we have to? Really? So one of the most common, and I do mean common, faux pas when you come near me is to tell me that you believe that there should be gun control. Gun control inadvertently impacts black people worse than white people. Why, Ken? Why do you say that? Why are you saying that, Ken? You're just being provocative. You just want people to say stuff about you, stuff like that. It's not even that. If you think of the largest major cities that have large populations of black people, what is a common denominator for each of those large cities? Actually, there are two. There are two. Abortion and gun control. Abortion and gun control. Think about it now. If you're in a large major city, what two liberal ideological pursuits are allowed? And in the District of Columbia, when it comes to abortion, there are no restraints. Just like you can't carry a gun. You can't protect your family. Thieves know that. Robbers know that. So tonight, as we're talking about this, and like I said earlier, I don't believe Lonnie will be with us tonight. He did experience a loss in his family, and God bless him and his family. We love him with all of our heart and with all of our soul, and we know how much he loves being on our program. We love having him here. His aunt passed away. And so that must be a very grueling experience for anyone. First, a funeral, it's very grueling. But when you lose someone that you love, it's very, very crushing. It really is. And no amount of words, no amount of actions, nothing. Sometimes even your presence is not enough. All I can say to Lonnie, my good friend, is I love you, brother. I'm praying for you and your family, for your healing, and for your guarded protection. When we come back from this particular break, I want to talk with you about gun control, the truth about gun control, and why black Americans vote for black Americans who support abortion and gun control. The word self-loathing comes to mind.
The Second Amendment is under siege, and not for the first time. To the Americans of the 13 colonies, self-defense was both a right and a duty. All colonies, except Pennsylvania, required gun ownership by militiamen, most adult males. Many colonies also mandated gun ownership by the head of a household, including a woman if she was the head, and sometimes required the carrying of guns when traveling or when going to public meetings, such as church services. The original public meaning of the Second Amendment was safeguarding the natural right to own and carry arms for all legitimate purposes. The difference between self-defense against a criminal invader in the home or against a criminal tyrant with his standing army was only one of scale. Immediately after the Civil War, Southern states enacted black codes designed to keep ex-slaves in de facto slavery. Mississippi's provision was typical. No freedman, quote, shall keep or carry firearms of any kind or any ammunition without police permission. In areas where the Ku Klux Klan took control, civil rights attorney Albion Tourget, who represented Homer Plessy in Plessy versus Ferguson, recounted, quote, almost universally, the first thing done was to disarm the Negroes and leave them defenseless. The Ku Klux Klan was America's first gun control group, as well as America's first domestic terrorist organization. Jim Crow laws became the foundation of gun control in America. These laws spread north in the early decades of the 20th century, aimed primarily at immigrants or labor agitators, or in response to blacks defending themselves against race riots. By the 1920s, movements were afoot to ban all handguns and to require the registration of all guns. But in 1941, Congress decided to ban federal gun registration. Congress was looking in horror at mass shootings and mass murders by many other methods taking place in Nazi-occupied Europe and in the Soviet Union. They could see how gun registration lists compiled by democratic governments, such as the Weimar Republic in Germany or the Third Republic in France, were being used for gun confiscation once the totalitarians took over. In fact, every episode of genocide in the past century has been preceded by assiduous efforts to first disarm the victims. Turkish Armenia, the Holocaust, the USSR, Soviet-occupied Poland, Guatemala under the military dictatorship of the 1950s, Mao's China, Chiang Kai-shek's White Terror, Uganda under Idi Amin, Cambodia under Pol Pot, Zimbabwe, Darfur, and many more. Of course, not every government that uses registration lists for mass confiscation is intent on genocide, but it's indisputable that the genocidaires seem to consider gun confiscation to be a crucial precondition for genocide. Today, the call for national gun registration is back. President Obama is using the murders at Sandy Hook Elementary School to promote registration, as well as massive bans on firearms and gun magazines. What is ultimately at stake is the same question that precipitated the American Revolution: whether the American people are the sovereigns in their own country, or whether they should be ruled from above for their own good, according to the supposedly benevolent commands of the elitist rulers of a European-style society.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Truth About Gun Control, Encounter Books, published July 11th, 2013. I want to thank the good people from Encounter Books for that wonderful presentation about gun control origins. I want to present to you Star Parker. Teddy Reagan put this together. and we'll put that in the chat roll for everybody. But Star Parker held a press conference, Stacey Swimp answering, and there was a question amongst black leaders whether gun control is racist in its root causation. I want to play that for you.
What you seem to be saying is that gun control has racist origins. Could somebody elaborate on that? Because you gave a few sentences about it and then just assumed everybody understood what you were talking about. Star, perhaps?
We know that gun control laws have racist origins. I mean, we have someone who's done an in-depth look at that, and I'd like for Stacey to come and share some of the things that you know about this history of gun control.
Thank you, Star. My name is Stacey Swimp. I'm the president of the Friendly Donor Society. And to answer your question, I think many of the speakers have actually broached that subject. I think one speaker talked about how the first gun laws were put into place to register black folks to make sure that they would know who we were, that we could not defend ourselves. I think if you look at the right after the Emancipation Proclamation, what was going on down in the southern states, it's very clear that the Dixiecrats wanted to disarm black people to keep us from defending ourselves against the Klansmen who were murdering white and black Republicans to control the ballot box. So I think history is ripe with examples of there's a correlation, direct correlation between gun control and black people control. And let me just say this, and I'll be very brief. You see, I wasn't always this conservative. I grew up in a home of liberals. I grew up in a community of liberals. And once upon a time, I used to do some things that some people would call criminal in my youth. You know, the Bible says that when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. But I'm telling you something. I grew up in the streets, and I want you to know from firsthand experience that the homes that criminals look for to commit crimes are the ones that they assume or they believe or they know there is not a gun owner in the home. You see, there was a man across the street from me, Mr. George Jeter. Now, most black folks would tell you, when I grew up, if the homeowner had a gun, you see, they would tell you that if you tried to come to their house, they would kill you, drag you outside, and then call the police. Yeah. Okay? But the truth is, everybody in my neighborhood knew you didn't go to the man across the street, Mr. Jeter, or my father, Mr. Swimp, because they had guns. Okay? And those of us that were young and stupid at that time, we knew to leave our community to do something like that. So if you think for 1 minute that gun control is going to do anything about reducing crime, what you've done is you just played into the hands of criminals. And they're having a party and thanking the Democrat Party for making it much easier for them to take the lives of law-abiding citizens. God bless you, and God bless America.
There you go. I just want to make that clear because Stacey Swimp, conservative, wasn't always. So how did we get to this, Ken? How you're making these eloquent statements and they're eloquent, Ken. I love when black people like you talk this way. You know, it makes me feel like my tax dollar was used absorbently well in your community. That you talk so pretty. I'm really proud of you and your people. I know my executive producer will come out any moment now and tell me to stay on pathway here. Gee, I like the way you just line out the pros and the premises of your exposition. It's really interesting. But I want to make this very plain and very clear to you, especially for my down low listeners. There are too many of us that have decided that the master looking out for me is the best thing indeed for me. You see, it is far better for me to stand around the Army bases and ask for someone to give me bread or give me position. And basically depend on the kindness of strangers. But I want to give you the history of DC gun ban. Just this is out of June 26, the Washington Post. Compost, as a good friend of mine would say. The Compost it is. And out of this particular article, thank you, Mary. Mary's always on my side. Thank you, Mary. Get him. Well, here we go. June 1976. 18 months after Congress established home rule. So I want to explain something to you. It takes a while for legislation to get passed. It really does take a long while for legislation. So this was on the chopping block. This is what the socialists have been working for centuries here. And they finally got it. They got home rule, which means that the district, and you wouldn't want black people, black radical Marxists that had taken over the city, you wouldn't want to get in their way because that would be racist. Taking away the Second Amendment, well, that works in your behalf too, because then you're racist anyway, so you don't trust them anyway. So yeah, it works both ways. But after Congress established home rule for the district, the D.C. Council voted 12-1 in favor of a bill restricting city residents from acquiring handguns. The law exempts guards, police officers, and owners who had registered their handguns before it took effect. Under the bill, all firearms, including rifles and shotguns, which were not restricted by the law, must be kept unloaded and disassembled, except those in business establishments. September 1976. Attempts in Congress to block the district law failed. Why? Because the Democrats had a majority rule of the House and the Senate. And, by the way, 1976, who's president? Jimmy Carter. Works out well. Clearing the way for it to go into effect. July 1977. The D.C. City Council exempts private security firms from the gun bill and removes the requirement that gun owners take vision and gun law tests. June 1999, a House bill carrying an amendment that would have allowed law-abiding citizens to own and carry guns in the district is defeated. That's June 1999. Who's in charge of the House and Senate then? And so this quells the argument, people, about Republicans. It quells the argument. We need the House and the Senate. No, you had the House and the Senate June 1999 and you did nothing. You know who fought the hardest to disable gun control in the District of Columbia? Ted Cruz. Before he was a senator. Argued before the Supreme Court. February 2003, 6 D.C. residents sued the city in a case known as Parker versus District of Columbia, arguing that the gun law illegally prevents them from keeping guns in their houses. April 2003, 5 other D.C. residents, including long-term activist Sandra Seegers, filed a separate suit, Seegers versus Ashcroft, against the federal and city government, saying they have a right to bear arms. July 2003, Senator Orrin G. Hatch, Republican from Utah, introduces a measure to end the district's ban on carrying handguns and keeping them in the home. And this is when we had the House and the Senate and the President. The legislation would also ease registration requirements for firearms and ammunition. It later dies in committee. We had the President, we had the House, we had the Senate. With the bill due, it died in committee. January 2004. That's because Republicans want to make ease with. They don't want to change anything. Come on. Don't want to change. No. I want to be friends with my fellow from the other aisle. And the fellow from the other aisle saying, I want to protect people who want to kill people on the other side of the aisle. January 2004. U.S. District Judge Reggie B. Walton dismisses the Sager suit. March 2004, U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan dismisses the Parker suit. This is when we had the Republican House, Republican Senate, and Republican President. September 2004, the House votes 250 to 171 to roll back most of the district's gun laws, but the Senate fails to take up the measure before Congress recesses. Oh, we tried. February 2005, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit upholds the ruling against Sagers, finding that she and other plaintiffs lack legal standing. What? What? You can't sue your own city? What? June, not unless a white cop kills somebody, and then you can sue the heck out of your city. There you go. June 30, 2005, House votes to repeal district's gun restrictions. November 2005, Congress approves the district's 2006 budget, leaving out a provision that would have prevented the city from enforcing the requirement that guns in homes be kept unloaded and disassembled. The House, for the second year in a row, votes overwhelmingly in favor of the restriction, but the language is removed in conference before the final passage. What? What? Republicans are doing that to the city of the nation's capital? What? That's why I am more quickly a conservative than I ever would be a Republican. Just saying to you. March 2007, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit overturned U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan's decision in the Parker case, finding that one of the plaintiffs has legal standing because he applied for and was denied a registration certificate to own a handgun. The court finds that the D.C. law illegally bars guns in homes. Mayor Adrian Fenty, I went to school with, idiot, says the city will appeal. May 2007, a federal appeals court in Washington let stand a ruling that struck down a restrictive D.C. ban on gun ownership, setting the stage for a potentially major constitutional battle over the Second Amendment in the Supreme Court. Get your popcorn, people. September 2007, the district asked the Supreme Court to uphold its strict 30-year handgun ban. The High Court has not ruled on the Second Amendment protection of the right to keep and bear arms since 1939. We saw how that worked out. November 2007, the Supreme Court agrees to rule on D.C. gun ban. January 2008, Acting D.C. Attorney General Peter Nichols selects former Acting U.S. Solicitor General Walter E. Dellinger. Dellinger! Get that, man! Dellinger, like the gun? Like... Walter E. Dellinger to defend the district's handgun ban. February 2008, Senate House members file an amicus brief urging the Supreme Court to uphold the ruling that the district's handgun ban violates the Second Amendment. In March 2008, Supreme Court hears the arguments. In June 26, 2008, Supreme Court strikes down the D.C. ban on handguns. July 2008, the D.C. Council passes revised. See, they're not interested in... These are self-loathing black people and do-good-for-nothing liberal white people who have come together to make certain that the majority of black people in the city cannot protect their homes or themselves. I'm just framing it the way they would frame me for saying that I love the Second Amendment. Oh, you're self-loathing. You just hate yourself. No, I love me. Trust me. I love me. I love living. And I love protecting myself and my family. The city is sued again weeks later on the basis that its new rules are too onerous. February 26, 2009, Republicans in the U.S. Senate attach an amendment to a D.C. voting rights bill that will remove the city's gun registration requirements, limit its authority to restrict firearms, and repeal the district's ban on semi-automatic guns. The bill has yet to come up in the House, but a similar amendment is likely. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are in 2015, 6 years later, and the big news story is, since we want to get into the she's an American in my opinion. Just an American with certain opinions that I disagree with, who happens to be police chief. But those on the left, the totalitarians, the communist, socialist, Marxists, who call themselves Democrats, see her as the one that will uphold and enforce their laws to disarm black people and to keep them in terror. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, I want to read to you Clayton E. Kramer's work called The Racist Roots on Gun Control. And I want to make it very plain to you and very clear to you. I'm going to come back also and give you the facts on crime and guns. Those on the left are not going to like that.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. and commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
Stan Levy is on the air with us tonight from the wonderful left coast that it is. A great host of a multitude of greatness on the air. Great pleasure, honor to have you on the Exceptional Conservative Show for the first time, sir.
Well, Kenneth, it's very good to be with you. How are you tonight?
Doing well. Listen, left coast, right coast. Were you amazed when you heard on 60 Minutes that a liberal police chief says that we need to learn how to take down terrorists?
No, I'm not surprised that people who are in law enforcement and are actually being honest and true to that profession are not simply recognizing the limits of their ability to protect. Let's face it, the police, for all the things that they can do, if you're really in trouble, the most you can probably expect for the police, if they're not there on scene, is to come by and take a statement if you're still alive. Otherwise, they're going to put up crime scene tape and mark where your body fell. If you care about the people, then you're going to have to basically let them know that they're going to have to bear some responsibility for their protection. And so I'm not surprised that even someone who was a liberal, the fact that he is in the profession that he's in makes it so that he recognizes, if I do not encourage people to look after their own well-being, I am basically asking them to be victims.
Exactly. We're talking tonight with Stanley Levy of Black Man Thinking. And you've been in this business for a long period of time, just as I have. But it appears that as we're going on in this, people are beginning to wake up and understand that the Second Amendment was put there not as a suggestion, but actually as a way of preventing tyranny and preventing domestic and foreign terrorists from destroying our lives.
Well, the interesting thing about the Second Amendment is people argue about it and they say, well, the Constitution gives you this right. They haven't read the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment gives no one the right to do anything. The Second Amendment prohibits the government from taking away a right that is already presumed to exist.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that is interesting. That, well, you don't need this. You don't understand. This is a God-given right, and it's not for the government to say what I do or don't need. That's basically between me and my Creator. If you don't like the weaponry that I have on hand, it would probably do you well not to mess with me, but I might not use it. But the idea that there should be some type of limitation ideology, and because the less armed that you are, the easier you are to control. And at the core of everything going on with the left, it is a matter of how do we control those who disagree with us.
Now, Stanley, you're out west in California, right?
Yep.
You've been fighting this particular thing for almost 2 generations. We've seen 2 generations go past. Not that you've been there for every one of those generation years, but we're going into a second generation where we're being told, don't worry about it. The police will be right there to protect you. You don't need to protect anything or to have a gun. And even individuals calling it an assault weapon. Have they frightened us away from protecting ourselves?
No, it's not frightening. Basically, they have, for the last 50 years, particularly if you're talking about black people, they have built in layers and layers of apathy. And it's very surprising the short amount of time it has taken for the left to basically convince black people, by and large, particularly the younger they are, that a gun is, basically a bad thing to have, and you must be looking for trouble if you have a gun. When the truth of the matter is, the best way for me to not come into trouble is for no one to know whether or not I have a gun.
But wait a minute. Just like we should know that Syrians are coming into our country who are Muslims and they need to be on a list, should we know that every American who in our neighborhood should be is carrying a gun or is registered as a gun owner?
No. As I said, the only reason... I'll be honest. I think recently the Supreme Court ruled that you don't have to have a driver's license to legally drive in these United States. And I dare say cars kill many times the number of people that get taken out by gun violence. Here's what it comes down to. What you have is not the government's business. The idea that you would give any information to the government that they have no need of for you to live your life in peace, you really don't understand what liberty is about. That is the problem. I wish somebody would have gone to those blacks who had just been freed from slavery and dealt with the... And I'm gonna make it real quick. It's gonna make somebody mad. The very shoddy treatment that the South received at the hands of the North in Reconstruction.
Yeah.
If you want to know why, one of the primary reasons why blacks fared so poorly once Reconstruction was ended, you need to go back and look at how whites treated other whites during Reconstruction. And doing that in the name of black people.
Yeah.
So it was very simple. So during Reconstruction we had all these electoral victories. Yes, you did, at the point of a bayonet. Basically, you had the North. The North had a military occupation of the South. They basically made sure that blacks could vote and did everything they could to restrict the voting of whites that they did not care for. As a result, you ended up with populations in the South where the percentage of voters was actually larger than the percentage of residents for black people. And folks don't know this. And what people believe is that white people were supposed to just go along with that and grin and be happy, and we're all supposed to join hands and sing Kumbaya, while you're standing there with somebody with a gun pointed at me so that you can have all these rights. Well, once you had the Panic of 1877, I believe it was, and the North could no longer financially maintain troops in the South. What did you think the Southerners were going to do in response to how they had been treated for more than a decade?
Exactly.
And if you take that situation and then tell a black man that, well, we really need to be careful about whether you have a gun, let's make it clear. A black man without a gun is not a slave. He is a corpse.
Amen. I'm looking at...
And the thing is, we act like it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
The only people who are alive in the inner city are the ones doing the killing. And they're using guns.
Yes! Yes, they are! And I loved it. There was a church in PG County, Prince George's County, Maryland, last weekend that used $30,000 to give out to collect guns from the community or whatever.
Bless their hearts.
God bless them. But the problem is when you hold things like that, and I don't know why the faith community is. I would love the faith community to come out and say we're going to pay $1,000 for each and every one of our congregants to get a gun and also receive training to do that. But every time they hold one of these things, people are bringing in broken guns. It's really not successful. Exactly. The bottom line is, it's none of the government's business. It's not your faith. It's not your church's business to know if you have a gun. The bottom line is, you have to protect yourself. You have a human right to protect yourself, a God-given right to protect yourself, and no one should ever infringe upon that or impede it.
No, they shouldn't. But you have to understand something. There's, as they say, there's levels to this mess. Let's go back to the idea that the government should not know what you have. I mean, we can go back. You don't even have to go back 100 years to a time when, if you lived in a rural area and the government came to your property, they made sure that you knew they were coming, that you would not shoot them.
Yes, true.
That's the way. The government was very much afraid of walking onto somebody's property unannounced because they knew that, you know what, you don't get, particularly if you were there trying to collect taxes from folks who were brewing things that you didn't want them to brew. You definitely could catch smoke. You could catch a round real easy there, and them mountain boys knew how to shoot.
Yes, they do.
But we now live in an age where instead of the government being afraid of the citizenry, which is the only way citizens remain free, it's the other way around.
Exactly.
So you have that, and therefore you're afraid not to tell the government things that they really have no business knowing. And then you touched on the church. Black church is a failure today.
Yeah.
The black church is failed. Now, does that mean every congregation is failed? No, it does not. But the black church has stood idly by while we have 70+% illegitimacy, while nearly half of black women between the ages of 15 and 49 are walking around infected with herpes.
Mm-hmm.
And men are only half that, but that's still 1 in 4 men walking around infected with herpes. Only 26% of women, 32% of men are married to anybody. 35 to 41% of the children aborted in this country are black. And the church has said, what? Running around and shouting in the pulpit while a black family disintegrates, and you say you're representing Christ.
Yeah.
And then the idea that you should give up your liberty for government control is basically saying that you have a different God. Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But the thing is now, the black church is of no consequence. This is the problem, and the problem is they're really not used to that. They actually still think that somebody can stand up like Martin King and deliver some speech, and everybody's going to be moved. They don't recognize that you have to have moral authority to do that, and when you cannot even establish, build, and maintain morality among your own people, nobody wants to hear what you have to say.
Exactly. It's just a shout and a dance on Sunday. Thanks for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Levy, Black Man Thinking. Listen, how can people listen to you and your program, your wonderful program, Monday through whatever?
Well, let me see. Well, I mean, I am going on tonight in about an hour and 10 minutes. So for the night owls in your crowd, they can catch me over at redstatetalkradio.com or on my own blog site, which is Black Man Thinking without the G, BlackManThinkin.com, and that'll start at 9 o'clock Pacific, which will be midnight Eastern time. So they can catch me there. I'm available through Facebook. I'm on Twitter on occasion. The 140 character thing is still a bit of a limitation to me, but okay. It is what it is. And usually after the show, the archives are available at Podbean, www.podbean.com. So there's that, and right now we're being carried by Red State Talk Radio. We're being carried by freedominamericaradio.com, and we recently got picked up by lmbnetwork.com. So we have discussions going on with other affiliates, and hopefully we can continue to get the message out. But I was for a while appearing with Lonnie on his show, Lionchasers, but I ended up having a schedule conflict, and I missed doing that on Thursday. But the idea, of course, is we have a lot of people talking at us, and they're simply telling us the same thing that they've been telling us since we bought hook, line, and sinker, the idea that the vote was going to help us 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And 50 years later, I mean, I'm sorry, they voted in Detroit. How's that working?
How's that working? Yeah.
They voted in Baltimore. How's that working?
They bought it in St. Louis. How's that working?
This is the thing. Every time someone tells me to get out there and vote, I ask one question. Please explain to me in 50 years what black people have got from voting. Well, we got a black president. And again, how's that
working? Stanley Levy, Black Man Thinking, midnight tonight, blackmanthinking.com. We put it in our chat roll. We'll put it in our chat roll again. Ladies and gentlemen, star this one. Put it there. On the nights you're not listening to Sackheads Radio, you need to be listening to Stanley on Black Man Thinking. Thank you, my brother. God bless you. Thanks for coming on the air. I'm going to have you on more often, too.
Okay, kid. Hey, you have a great evening. We'll talk with you soon.
Talk to you soon. That's Stanley Levy. God bless you, sir. Just telling it like it is, people. Just telling it like it is. Whether you're in California or you're in D.C., telling it like it is. We live on exact opposite coasts of one another, and we're saying the same thing. We're preaching the same thing. And how sad it is for a black church to be so manipulated by the ideologies of the do-gooding, noble, Marxist, socialists, and communists of the world that they would actually help to disarm black people. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking tonight about racism and gun control. I want to go over some statistics. Donald Trump has gotten into a lot of trouble regarding statistics. Okay, and I just want to give them to you, the facts, the way they are. Okay, there's no, I don't have an axe to grind, and actually I don't even have an axe, because if I had an axe in DC, I would have to register it, and it would have to fit the code requirement for an official axe by the mayor and police chief. So, you know. No, that was clearly over the top. But here are some statistics, and this is truth. And I put it in the chat roll for you all to know. And just in case Donald Trump's listening, dude, go here first. 71% of gunshot victims had previous arrest records. Did you get that one? 71% of gunshot victims had previous arrest records. 64% had been convicted of a crime. Each had an average of 11 prior arrests. 11 prior. Black Lives Matter, wake up, baby. This is what you're trying to protect. Oh, wait a minute. You already are awake. The rest of America, wake up. This is what Black Lives Matter is trying to protect. 63% of victims had criminal histories, and 73% of that group knew their assailant. Twice as often as victims without criminal histories. 74% of homicides during the commission of a felony involve guns. So for all of you who want to outlaw the guns, let's outlaw bats and steak knives too while we're at it. Let's go all the way with this. Here are some myths. Guns are not a good deterrent to crime. Fact. Guns prevent an estimated 2.5 million crimes a year, or 6.849 every day. At least 7 crimes, and God says 7's a perfect number. For all you at that church in PG County, 7. At least 7 people a day are saved. Most often the gun is never fired and no blood, including the criminals, is shed. Fact. Property crime rates are dropping, especially burglaries. The chart shows the legal handgun supply in America, mainly in civilian hands, to the property crime rate. The greater the number of handguns owned, the lesser the property crime. Fact. 60% of convicted felons admitted that they avoided committing crimes when they knew the victim was armed. Yeah, there is honor amongst thieves. Honor for self-preservation. Fact. Felons report that they avoid entering houses where people are at home because they fear being shot. Fact. 59% of the burglaries in Britain, which has tough gun control laws, are hot burglaries, which are burglaries committed while the home is occupied by the owner or the renter. By contrast, the U.S., with more lenient gun control laws, has a hot burglary rate of only 13%. Yeah, come across that door if you want. Fact. For all you down low listeners who are still with me, Washington, D.C. has essentially banned gun ownership since 1976 and has a murder rate of 56.9 per 100,000. Across the river in Arlington, Virginia, gun ownership is less restricted. There, the murder rate is just 1.6 per 100,000, less than 3% of the Washington, D.C. rate. Here's a myth. Private guns are used to commit violent crimes. Fact. 90% of all violent crimes in the U.S. do not involve firearms of any type. Fact. Even in crimes where the offender possessed a gun during the commission of the crime, 83% did not use or threaten to use the gun. Fact. Fewer than 1% of firearms will ever be used in the commission of a crime. Fact. 92% of gang murders are committed with guns, including my daughters. Gangs are responsible for between 48 and 90% of all violent crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, why am I fighting for open heart, closed case? Because I know this statistic. The city council knows this statistic. And yet it holds its love for the gang members over our children. They'd rather protect the gang members of MS-17 who have crossed the border illegally than to protect our kids, our families, our lives. Those are the council members. That's your mayor. Myth. 40% of Americans have been or personally know a gun violence victim. Fact. This data was from an unpublished survey conducted by a political research organization. Their own footnote reads Greenberg, Quinlan, Rossner Research for the New Venture Fund. Note, this is not publicly available data. Myth. Interstate transportation of guns defeats local gun control. Fewer than 5% of trace guns in California, many of which were not crime guns, came from neighboring Nevada and Arizona. Myth. High capacity semi-automatics are preferred by criminals. The fact of the matter is the use of semi-automatic handguns in crimes is slightly lower than the ratio of semi-automatic handguns owned by private citizens. Myth. Banning Saturday night specials reduces crime. Here's a fact. Even banning guns does not slow down criminals. In the UK, where private ownership of firearms is practically forbidden, criminals have and use guns regularly. And even build their own. Myth. Gun shows are supermarkets for criminals. Fact. Only 0.7% of convicts bought their firearms at gun shows. 39.2% obtained them from illegal street dealers. I could go on, ladies and gentlemen. There are a number of facts here. But I want to leave you with just one. Prison isn't the answer to crime control. Everyone says we can't arrest our way out of a problem. Yeah, you can. Here's a fact. Homicide convicts serve a little more than half of their original sentences. Given that men tend to be less prone to violent behavior as they age, holding them for their full sentences will probably reduce violence significantly. Black Lives Matter. You are a threat to America. You are a threat to Washington, D.C. And I will take you on wherever you are and show how brilliantly brutal you are in your ignorance and your gratuitous gains as merely street thugs of debate. Ladies and gentlemen, a man once told me, live bravely so that you do not die a coward. I promise you I always will. As for me and my house, I know that God has blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We thank you for tuning in tonight. And maybe we will get in tomorrow night some of the racist information. And we probably will. But I just want to let you all know I love you all and appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow night with more of the best of the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world, The Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Washington, D.C.